Good day and welcome back to Life in Timeless Art. Today we're diving into a philosophical exploration of power, revolution, and the paradox of leadership. Today we will explore this paradox through historical analysis, philosophical inquiry, and contemporary examples. We'll examine how figures who position themselves as disruptors often consolidate power in ways eerily similar to their predecessors. More importantly, we'll question whether true revolution requires not just a change in leadership, but a fundamental shift in how power itself is structured. Join us as we delve into the complexities of power, the cycles of history, and the lessons that can be learned from those who came before. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell for more in-depth explorations of art, culture, and the timeless stories shaping our world. Billionaires, influencers. The rise of billionaires and online influencers like Andrew Tate, Elon Musk, and Alex Jones reveals a fascinating paradox within modern culture. On the surface, these figures appear to be rallying against a shadowy group of globalists, warning of a looming new world order. They present themselves as champions of the common people, supposedly fighting to dismantle the systems of oppression. Yet, what they fail to realize is that their actions, far from preventing this new order, may in fact be accelerating its arrival. By positioning themselves as the antidote to centralized control, they paradoxically create a new center of gravity, one that shifts power but does not dissolve it. The very dynamic they seek to disrupt is reinforced, as their influence forms a new kind of elite, shaped not by secrecy but by spectacle. This phenomenon can be likened to a surreal comedy, reminiscent of Mr. Bean's absurd escapades. Imagine a world where these self-styled warriors against elitism charge into battle with the same obliviousness and chaotic charm as Rowan Atkinson's iconic character. Their confrontations with the global elite are less calculated strategy and more comedic farce, a Mini Cooper crashing into a secretive cabal, with teddy bears and finger guns substituting for genuine revolutionary power. The irony is palpable, a resistance so clumsy that it becomes part of the spectacle, drawing even more attention to the systems it claims to undermine. The sheer abundance of online influencers embodying this chaotic energy creates a fractured, incoherent movement. Like a crowd of Mr. Beans, each attempting to be the lone hero, they often end up undermining each other. There is no honor among these fellows, as their egos and insecurities drive them to compete rather than collaborate. The result is a movement filled with instability and paranoia, a schizo logic that turns them against their own supposed allies. This lack of cohesion reveals the deeper problem. A revolution driven by ego is doomed to replicate the very hierarchies it seeks to destroy. The question then arises, what is the ultimate point of these figures attempting to overthrow the global elites? History has shown that when revolutionaries reach the top of the pyramid, they often become the new rulers, indistinguishable from those they replaced. The structure of the pyramid remains intact, only with different faces at its peak. The same psychological and social dynamics that gave rise to the elites persist, ensuring that any change is cosmetic rather than substantive. Thus, the new heroes, in their thirst for power, are destined to imitate the elite they claim to despise. This cyclical pattern suggests that true liberation cannot come from external saviors or charismatic disruptors. The psychological allure of such figures rests on a deep collective longing for someone to fix the world, a desire that ironically plays into the hands of authoritarian structures. By placing faith in billionaires and influencers, society externalizes its power, inadvertently creating the conditions for new forms of domination. True freedom, perhaps, lies not in overthrowing external rulers, but in dismantling the internal structures of submission and dependency, power and spectacle. Yet what they fail to realize is that their actions, far from preventing this new order, may in fact be accelerating its arrival. By positioning themselves as the antidote to centralized control, they paradoxically create a new center of gravity, one that shifts power but does not dissolve it. The very dynamic they seek to disrupt is reinforced, as their influence forms a new kind of elite, shaped not by secrecy but by spectacle. This emerging elite does not operate from the shadows, as the old power structures did, but rather thrives in the glaring light of public attention. The more they rail against the establishment, the more they become a fixture of the new order, their prominence secured not by institutional authority, but by narrative dominance. In their quest to decentralize, they create a gravitational pull of their own, an orbit of followers, admirers, and acolytes who, consciously or not, recreate the hierarchical patterns of the past. What makes this phenomenon particularly insidious is its seductive transparency. Unlike the opaque mechanisms of traditional power, this new elite gains its legitimacy through visibility and perceived authenticity. Their power does not stem from hidden networks or backroom deals, but from the persuasive force of constant engagement and spectacle. Yet this spectacle, though seemingly open, constructs its own kind of enclosure, one where the boundaries of influence are drawn not by formal authority, but by attention economies, where presence becomes power. Thus, the revolution they imagine themselves leading becomes instead a reconfiguration of the same dynamics they sought to overthrow. The center shifts, but the gravity remains, pulling everything into its orbit. In resisting centralized control, they unwittingly centralize themselves, proving that power, rather than being eradicated, simply changes shape. Chaotic influencer culture. The sheer abundance of online influencers embodying this chaotic energy creates a fractured, incoherent movement. Like a crowd of Mr. Beans, each attempting to be the lone hero, they often end up undermining each other. Every individual voice strains to rise above the cacophony, but in doing so, they contribute to the noise rather than transcending it. There is no honor among these fellows, as their egos and insecurities drive them to compete rather than collaborate. Each influencer, believing themselves to possess some unique insight or moral superiority, views others not as comrades, but as threats. They engage in subtle, and often not so subtle, acts of sabotage, from performative call-outs to strategic alliances designed more for optics than for solidarity. The collective result is a movement filled with instability and paranoia, a schizo logic that turns them against their own supposed allies, mistaking healthy disagreement for treason. This lack of cohesion reveals the deeper problem. A revolution driven by ego is doomed to replicate the very hierarchies it seeks to destroy. As long as personal brands and clout chasing take precedence over genuine collaboration and mutual aid, the movement remains trapped in a cycle of self-defeat. The same mechanisms of control and exclusion that they claim to resist are mirrored in their internal dynamics, with social capital and influence creating new forms of gatekeeping. Ironically, what could be a powerful force for cultural change instead becomes a fragmented spectacle, a digital coliseum, where would-be revolutionaries fight for the fleeting validation of an audience that, more often than not, is watching for entertainment rather than enlightenment. Without a shared vision, the movement devolves into a series of ego-driven skirmishes, each combatant too busy defending their own brand to build anything lasting. And thus, the revolution cannibalizes itself, ensuring its own irrelevance in the long run. Cycle of power. The question then arises, what is the ultimate point of these figures attempting to overthrow the global elites? History has repeatedly shown that when revolutionaries reach the top of the pyramid, they often become the new rulers indistinguishable from those they replaced. The structure of the pyramid remains intact, only with different faces at its peak. The same psychological and social dynamics that gave rise to the elites persist, ensuring that any change is cosmetic rather than substantive. Thus, the new heroes, in their thirst for power, are destined to imitate the elite they claim to despise. This cyclical nature of power dynamics suggests that the problem may not reside solely with the individuals at the top, but with the very architecture of hierarchical systems. As long as societies are organized in a way that concentrates power and resources in the hands of a few, the incentives for corruption, oppression, and self-preservation at the expense of the collective good will remain irresistible. Moreover, those who rise through revolutionary fervor often do so by cultivating populist narratives, promising liberation, equality, and justice. Yet, once in power, these same leaders face the realities of governance, where compromise, coercion, and control become necessary tools to maintain order and their newfound authority. The ideals that propelled them to power are gradually eroded, replaced by a pragmatic and often cynical approach to leadership that mirrors the tactics of the old regime. To break free from this cycle, perhaps the solution lies not in replacing the faces at the top, but in fundamentally reshaping how societies distribute power and wealth. Decentralization, transparency, and participatory governance might offer more promising pathways toward genuine transformation. Without addressing the root causes of inequality and authoritarianism, every revolution risks becoming just another turn of the same wheel, with new rulers sitting comfortably in the same gilded chairs. Spectacle and illusion. Ultimately, the spectacle of billionaires and influencers posing as rebels reveals more about the audience than the performers. The hunger for simple narratives of good versus evil obscures the more difficult work of systemic change. As long as society looks to figures like Tate, Musk, and Jones as heroes, it remains trapped in a cycle of disempowerment, mistaking spectacle for substance and rebellion for genuine transformation. Only by recognizing this illusion can there be any hope of breaking free from it. This phenomenon speaks to a collective desire for saviors, figures who seem to challenge the status quo while remaining safely within the bounds of a system that rewards spectacle over substance. The allure of such personalities lies in their ability to articulate discontent and offer a semblance of defiance, even if that defiance ultimately serves to reinforce the very structures they claim to oppose. Audiences, worn down by economic precarity and cultural fragmentation, seek comfort in narratives that simplify the complexities of power and resistance. Breaking free from this cycle requires a collective awakening, an understanding that real transformation demands more than identifying villains and heroes. It requires addressing the underlying systems of inequality, exploitation, and misinformation that create the conditions for such spectacles to thrive. Only when society shifts its gaze from the stage of performative rebellion to the often unseen work of solidarity, education, and structural reform can there be a genuine escape from this illusion. That shift requires discomfort, nuance, and a willingness to imagine alternatives that aren't neatly packaged for mass consumption. But it is in that messy, difficult space that true empowerment begins. And that's where we'll leave it for today. If you've made it this far, thank you for taking the time to reflect on this with me. History loves a good underdog story. Brave heroes rising against shadowy overlords, promising liberation, only to become the new rulers in the end. In today's digital age, figures like Andrew Tate, Elon Musk, and Alex Jones have donned the mantle of revolutionaries, branding themselves as the last line of defense against a looming globalist agenda. Yet in their relentless quest to dismantle the so-called New World Order, they may actually be speeding up its arrival. Power, after all, is a seductive mistress, and those who claim to resist it often find themselves drunk on its intoxicating grip the moment they taste it. If this video resonated with you, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. It really helps more people find this conversation. And if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you won't miss the next deep dive. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think it takes to move beyond performative rebellion and build real solidarity? Let's keep this conversation going. As always, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and I'll see you in the next one.